All right. Good morning. Hope you guys are doing well. So, thanks for joining me on. So this is Charles Spurgeon's morning from his morning and evening devotionals that he put out a long time ago. So I like to do this sometimes rather than so I either read the Bible and I usually go through a book of the Bible, not all at once, chapter by chapter, but sometimes I'll do morning and evening, just to change things up. They're short and they're very clear and concise, but they're a great way to start out your day. So before we get started today, let me know in the chat. So this is the first time I'm doing this on a Wednesday at 8:30 Eastern time. If you would prefer that it be a little bit earlier, maybe 8 a.m., let me know. If it doesn't matter, then don't worry about it. I probably can't do it much earlier than that because I have family getting ready for work and school, and it might just get a little bit too noisy. But I could probably move it to 8 if that would be helpful to you. The other thing I'm going to say before we get started too is do turn on notifications. Like I said, I'm going to try to do this consistently on Wednesdays. Even if it's not something that has a big audience. I love reading this anyway, but turn on notifications because that way you can see in advance when I schedule it. So you'll know if there's one coming up on a Wednesday or if I had to cancel out. I do have a full time job, so sometimes I may have to go to a meeting or something like that. But typically, Wednesdays and Fridays, I can work from home and do this. So, anyway, we're going to get started. This is Charles Spurgeon's morning devotional for September 21st. All right, he says, or this is actually scripture, I will rejoice over them to do them good. Jeremiah 32:41. How heart cheering to the believer is the delight which God has in his saints. We can't see any reason in ourselves why the Lord would take pleasure in us. We cannot take delight in ourselves, for we often have to groan, being burdened, conscious of our sinfulness, and deploring our unfaithfulness. And we fear that God's people cannot take much delight in us, for they must perceive so much of our imperfections and our follies that they might rather lament our infirmities than admire our graces. But we love to dwell upon this transcendent truth, this glorious mystery, that as the bridegroom rejoices over the bride, so does the Lord rejoice over us. We do not read anywhere that God delights in the cloud capped mountains or the sparkling stars, but we do read that he delights in the habitable parts of the earth, and that his delights are with the sons of men. We do not find it written that even angels give his soul delight, nor does he say concerning cherubim and seraphim, you will be called Hephzibah, which means for the Lord delights in you. But he does say, let me scroll up here, but he does say all that to poor fallen creatures like ourselves, debased and depraved by sin, but saved, exalted, and glorified by his grace. In what strong language he expresses his delight in his people. Who could have conceived of the Eternal One as bursting forth into a song? But it's written, he will rejoice over you with joy. He will rest in his love. He will joy over you with singing. As he looked upon the world he had made, he said, it is very good. But when he beheld those who are the purchase of Jesus' blood, his own chosen ones, it seemed as if the great heart of the infinite could restrain itself no longer, but overflowed with divine exclamations of joy. Should not we utter our grateful response to such a marvelous declaration of his love and saying, I will rejoice in the Lord, I will joy in the God of my salvation? So I don't know about you. I just think that is so encouraging to see the value that God has for us. Now, he kind of starts out by saying that, you know, how are we supposed to delight ourselves when we see our sin? And I'm just not sure. Obviously, he may not have had our culture in mind when this was written, but I'm not sure. I think today maybe we do need to kind of see our sin a little bit more. I think we tend to be so we kind of self glorify. We're so like narcissistic that maybe sometimes we do need to recognize and see the sin in our own lives just a little bit more. But he goes on to say all the ways that the Lord delights in us and rejoices in us. And that's just, I think that's just a crazy way to think of God. that he actually sees and knows this value in each of us. And it may be for you. I think it's probably true for most of us that we may not be getting that from man, from people we know, from friends, from coworkers, maybe even from family, or for the world in that case. But we do have that kind of value and recognition from our Creator, and really, that's all that matters. So if you really want to live life to the full, know that you have a redeemer that loves you so much that he's thinking about you, wishing joy upon you, providing joy for you, um, and just sees the tremendous value in his creation. So that's all I got. Like I said, it is short and to the point. I hope you feel encouraged by this. I know sometimes we have a hard time recognizing our own value, but take this and live today to the full. And what I would say too is let every moment today, whether you're doing dishes or writing stuff at work, doing chores, whatever it is you have to do, let every moment be an act of worship to the Lord, just as an act of gratitude for the value that he sees in you. Thanks for joining me today, friends. And there's a video coming out on Friday about why we often feel overwhelmed. That'll be about 5 p.m. Eastern time on Friday. And then I will do my best to do this again next Wednesday at 8 or 8:30 a.m. Make sure you turn notifications on so you know what time it's going to be so you don't miss it. Thanks. Have a great day.